Welcome back to the TFT videocast. We are back in school. It's mid-October and everybody's back into the school game. So we're going to be back into the regular podcast, videocast for TFT. This one is brought to you by Teachable, and it is a great platform. Teachable gets recommendations from all kinds of online people who do their income online. Because teaching a class is difficult and having a site that hosts and handles a lot of the marketing is a big plus. I recommend Teachable for sure. This episode is on some of the things that I've been talking with you guys about for the last couple of years now. The NBA, Daryl Morey, LeBron James, Greg Popovich, Steve Kerr, Donald Trump. I don't know if scandal is the right word, but the events that have been going on of late. And the main point early on that we really need to talk about right away is the hypocrisy in the social justice warrior ethos. And for all of his weirdness, Donald Trump actually got a lot of this stuff right when he said on his huge platform that people like Steve Kerr and Greg Popovich are ready, willing, able, and very quick to criticize the United States, criticize the president himself, and criticize the social atmosphere in the United States, the way people are treated and the way they're talked about. And so be it. If they want to be hypocritical social justice warriors, that's fine. But this China thing is fascinating because Daryl Morey basically tweeted out a very innocuous tweet, "I stand with Hong Kong." Well, China wants to take over Hong Kong. Hong Kong is on the downswing. It's about to be just part of mainland China. I mean, it's at this stage, it's basically inevitable. China is not going to be an echo of the British Empire doing things in a Western way while the rest of China is being controlled and ruled by the Chinese Communist Party. So, Hong Kong is in its death throes and the people are like, we want to be free, we want to be under Western rules, all this kind of stuff. We want freedom of speech, all of these things that the West is known for. That Steve Kerr and Greg Popovich enjoy themselves as Americans. And so Trump was actually right that these people will complain and be very vocal. Good for them. They're Americans. In theory, we have freedom of speech in America. Of course, we know that's not totally true. You got to love the sun effect that I have going here. Let me do a little bit of blocking. They should be... Okay, fine. Kerr and Popovich are multimillionaires. They travel in private jets. They have no idea how regular people live. But they're going to talk about how racist everything is and how, minorities are treated poorly in the United States and all of this social justice warrior babble. Daryl Morey tweets, "Stand with Hong Kong." And because China has the whip hand with the dollars, with the sneaker companies, they're all of a sudden unable to speak and or unable to speak clearly. And I've told you this kind of thing before. It's the reaction that you need to look at, not the action itself. Not Daryl Morey's tweet, which is harmless. Good for Daryl Morey to put out something like that and say, "I stand with Hong Kong." Okay, he's taking a stand. All right. But then Steve Kerr and Popovich are silent and are mute. And China says, "Oh, not so fast. You want access to this billion-plus strong market? And Nike, you want the $38 billion that you make overseas? You want that to continue? You will not be talking about Hong Kong and how it should be free. You will stay silent. Your job is to come here and play basketball and shut your mouth." And Steve Kerr and Popovich, that's exactly what they're doing. Jason Whitlock has been, as usual, very good on this. And he's calling these people out for the fraudulence nonsense that they are, the fraudulent bad actors that they are. Even in his comment, Donald Trump noticed that Steve Kerr was scared, and he was scared. Steve Kerr said this situation is a bizarre international situation. He doesn't know quite what to say. He doesn't think he understands it. As if Steve Kerr understands the black experience in the United States. Not even close. Steve Kerr's been a multimillionaire basketball player since he was in his 20s. And now he's a fantastic coach of the Warriors. And they travel in private jets and get treated like royalty wherever they go at all times. And now he's scared to speak out. It's the hypocrisy that people don't like. And Whitlock said it best. He said, this is a sneaker issue. And not only that, did Whitlock nail it with the power of Nike, telling its people and its league to stay quiet. But Whitlock also said correctly that it would have been better if Steve Kerr and Popovich had just said, look, this is a complicated business relationship. I'm not comfortable talking about this, so I really can't comment at this time. All right, it would have at least been like, all right, this is a business relationship and you don't want to mess with your business. All right, I could be critical of that, but at least it's true. But no, it's you get word salad. It's complicated. Popovich's was even worse, although Trump noticed that he wasn't scared, because Popovich doesn't seem like a guy who's scared. But he's a social justice warrior, hypocrite just like the rest of them. And he's like, yeah, well, you know, the things that we've had to deal with over the last 3 years, all this, oh my God, right? Like Popovich and his vineyard in France and his gigantic house with a pool in the back, as he lives like a multimillionaire in the whites only part of town in San Antonio. Like he understands all the struggles that people have been going through. These are not brave people willing to speak truth to power. It's very safe to be anti-Trump and talk about the racism that we, the multimillionaire class, that we have to deal with. Oh, it's so tough. OMG, what am I going to do? Oh, Donald Trump, orange man bad. Oh, right? These people are sick. It takes no courage at all to do this. Popovich and Kerr are the people who would be saying nothing bad about slavery back in the 1850s just because it was safe. It was dangerous back then to say something about the established order of the way things were. It was dangerous, and nobody... No candidate for emancipation got anywhere near 1 or 2% of the vote. It was safe to talk about things the way they were. Just as now it's very safe for Kerr and Popovich to tweet, orange man bad, Trump evil, racism is everywhere. Oh, and then they perpetrate that they understand because they coach in the NBA. A multi-billion-dollar profit corporation that travels the world. And the new market that they want to get in, the NBA, and it's, let's face it, the NBA is run by the shoe companies, in this case Nike. Now, all of a sudden, cat got your tongue. Just like Whitlock says. Can't speak freely. It's too complicated and too difficult for me to understand this situation with China and Hong Kong. So I'm not going to say anything. But I will be critical of the country in which I live and the country that has made me a multimillionaire. That I will speak out on things all the time and with gusto. And that's the thing with the Kerr quote about how this is a bizarre international situation. I don't feel comfortable. I'm not well informed. All this kind of stuff. Steve Kerr doesn't understand these issues he's talking about when it comes to other bits of the Donald Trump administration and its policies. He doesn't understand the vagaries of trade and the way things work in the business world. His job was to shoot long threes for the Cavaliers and the Magic, and ultimately with the Bulls and the Spurs. He's not a stupid guy. Kerr seems very bright. But his job was to play sports. And he did, at the highest level in the world. And now he's a coach at the highest level of the world. And you're not telling me Steve Kerr understands the business cycle and what the Fed is up to and the military-industrial complex and the prison-industrial complex, all this kind of stuff. He doesn't understand this stuff. Open challenge Steve Kerr. Come see me and we'll go toe-to-toe on these issues. And you'll see how a 20-year veteran English teacher can handle you with ease. But it's not about me. Popovich, the same thing. Very willing to go off and talk about issues and stuff in the country, and it's so tough, and all the problems, and we need social justice, and the Trump administration, everything terrible, and we're not going to visit the White House, right? Remember Steve Kerr and the Warriors didn't go to the White House. Oh, it's so offensive. I did a cast years ago, probably 2 years ago, on the hypocrisy of that. The Warriors didn't go to the White House because Orange Man Bad is there. They didn't seem to mind it when children were getting killed in Yemen under the Obama administration, or kids were being put in cages at the border of Mexico like they were in 2015. Funny how they didn't seem to boycott that. And that's my point. They're not thinkers. These are not people who are deep and well-versed in the issues. They're playing a popularity game and a safety game. And now you see that the overseer to all of this, Nike and the Chinese government, when they say, here's how you will act, here's how you, Greg Popovich and Steve Kerr, here's how you will behave. Now they don't say anything but except, yes, sir, I will not speak. I will be quiet. And this is the kind of adult hypocrisy that I'm telling you, and I tell all of you guys as high school students, that you got to look out for. You will not see Kerr or Popovich speak out in support of the people in Hong Kong. Not going to happen. They will only speak about things that are safe to them and get them likes and retweets on Twitter. I now put, and I tweeted this to Steve Kerr, I now put you out there, Kerr, as an exercise in hypocrisy. And when it comes up, and it will, I will say, look at Steve Kerr, good basketball coach, social justice warrior, hypocrite. American hypocrite. Big talker when it's safe. When the paymasters are okay with it. Until then, nope, nothing happening. Popovich, the same thing. While he's counting his money from his vineyard, in his gigantic house with a pool, that mansion he lives in, very safe to say all the stuff he says. When you're living well, flying private jets, very, very easy to put up a front like that. And now you see LeBron James now turning into the world's biggest shill, right? He's a Nike guy. So he stated very recently that Daryl Morey obviously is uneducated on the subject. Yeah, as if LeBron James understands the vagaries of foreign policy of any country, particularly that of the United States. And LeBron James, these are all smart people. LeBron James obviously is a very bright man and a solid businessman and brave when it came to going after all the major agents, right? LeBron has his own agent, his own company. He gave the finger to the big agencies that represent players. Good for him, right? He went up against power when it came to that, and it was a risk. If LeBron James hadn't panned out, he would have gone down in flames. He wouldn't have been able to do anything basketball related. But he took a gamble and he won. But now that he's an established star, very comfortable to make sure that the paymasters, Nike, and the Chinese Communist government, very safe, very easy to say, oh, Daryl Morey is uneducated on these matters. Yeah, okay. Right. Well, and again, so the upper 20% of the American electorate will understand that, okay, these people really are not worth our time when it comes to anything except basketball. But as young people, this is the kind of thing I show you. That people most people do not have principles. They are not really fighting for social justice at all. They really are not there for the downtrodden or the underclass. They're really there for themselves. And all we ever ask, those of us who can think, are to be honest about it. Right? This has been my theme the last few episodes of this. If you're fighting against global warming, don't fly around in private jets. If you're fighting against the income gap and you're a multimillionaire, share the wealth. The Douglas C. Marola Foundation, right, the TFT, the freelance teacher operation, will always take donations, always open for donations. All of these things that go on, it's not necessarily the cause itself. It's the hypocrisy that is exercised. So I'll have respect for these people, Popovich, Kerr, LeBron James, if they come out and be like, you know what, Maury was right. And good for him to be speaking out about this. Because right now, Daryl Morey is the only honest person in the bunch. They made him delete his tweet. He said what he thought was right. And Daddy Warbucks and the other big money types said, nope, you're not to speak on these things. And Kerr, Popovich, James, and the other multimillionaire hypocrites, they're doing as they're told. So we're going to see how this goes the next time they're extremely critical of the United States or Trump. You can only imagine the tweets that will follow. Stay informed, stay thoughtful, and intellectually curious. Talk to you next time.